All right, we're at. Okay, we're back here. You're ready. You're ready. You're totally ready. You're totally ready. Well, that was awesome, man. I think we got a lot of our questions. He was answering questions before we even could even ask them, which
Yeah,
was
it was
cool.
kind of funny how he like segued perfectly for almost every question.
I know. It's almost like he knew those questions. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And
It's
guys, I
amazing.
just do want to clarify. Would have loved to pry into super specific details, but obviously they're not going to be able to share a lot of those for now. So we
Yeah,
did kind of focus that interview on more wide scoping, like philosophical questions about who he is, what the league is about, what it's trying to accomplish. So hopefully we will get more concrete details soon. But nonetheless, I thought that was very informative just to hear kind of Nate's perspective on everything, as he is kind of the
absolutely.
guy leading the charge.
Yeah, he's a great guy too. So it's good that he's at the helm on a lot of this. And again, like I was telling him, there's a lot of people that want to talk to Nate right now. So the fact that Kiki helped us kind of line that up, and him taking the time out of his day, especially right now after BlizzCon and whatnot, we're very very fortunate to have him on. Very very cool. Okay, so let's talk about BlizzCon. The rest of the things that were announced at BlizzCon, which were a ton of things. Oh, by the way, guys, if you guys want to ask questions, we do have our Q&A today. It's going to be at the end, and I know some folks were asking earlier. Go ahead and tweet those questions to myself at ChanManV. Otherwise, you can hang around Twitch chat. And moving forward, for all the folks that are listening on the audios, I just kind of realized, which is really bad of me, that you guys seem to be missing out on Q&A every single week. So if you guys have a question leading into the next show, please email those to the overview at chanmanv.tv, and we'll be sure to read them the following week. Okay, so BlizzCon. All right, so lots of things announced. New character Sombra, finally, right? Uh, Jason, you're probably working during that time, right? But Ben, did you get a
I couldn't
chance?
really hear much backstage.
Oh,
No.
not at all. Ben, you were at the opening ceremony, right?
Yeah, I was there.
How about that announcement, man, for Sombra? That was pretty sweet.
It was pretty good, and it's so funny because we've been talking about the ARG stuff on the show for week after week,
Oh
and
God.
people were getting so salty and pissed about it.
Uh,
But the moment she's released, like it's all forgiven. It's all okay now. We finally have Sombra. She's finally here. We know what she does, know what she looks like. The lore started to get fleshed out, which is pretty cool. And she's a very interesting character. A lot of people are saying she's OP, and I think her
Wait,
ult.
wait. So
Yes.
before we get into like the depths
yeah.
of like how she works, can we just talk about like how many times and how much we all orgasmed when we saw the behind the scenes stuff of Overwatch, and then she hacks the video?
Exactly.
Like
That's
that
what
was
I was trying to get
amazing.
at.
Like I was
Yeah,
watching, I was like, holy shit, is this a glitch? Like when it started to freeze, I was like, oh shit, what's production doing? And then I realized it's
Right.
part of the video, and I was like, holy crap, that was amazing.
That was. I mean, even just the footage, honestly, leading into all of that was pretty badass. Just seeing, the launch day and whatnot. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So they set it up amazingly, and then go straight into the short too. So just flowed perfectly. They did an awesome job. Definitely, just creating that and thinking that or coming up with that. But I saw all these like reaction videos on YouTube. There's literally like 1,000 reaction videos to that moment in the opening ceremony that are pretty funny and got tons of views.
Okay, Ben, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben. Now get into the
sorry,
details, buddy.
I don't know if we just want to talk about like the minutia of her kit and all of that.
Yeah, we should talk. Yeah.
Played with her a little bit, and obviously she is built to kind of be this character that can come from flanking angles, surprise people from behind, disengage very well. Of course, she's got the teleporter, which I think is actually not as good for throwing the teleporter into the fray and teleporting in. It's probably better to throw it out of the fray,
right,
and get yourself out. But if you combo, you can actually throw the teleporter while you're in the stealth run mode, teleport, stay in stealth, and flank all the way around back behind teams very easily. On a lot of maps, I think this is going to be huge, especially maps that tend to focus around a single choke point. You're thinking first point Hanamura, you're thinking first point, even King's Row, things like that. You're going to be able to get a good flanking angle. But the one thing, I don't actually think she's as OP as a lot of other pros were saying right off the bat, because even if you flank all the way behind the enemy team and 1v1 a support, her gun isn't really that good. Like, you have to be right up in their face, and even then, I think you can get out-fragged by almost every other character in the game. I haven't really played with her too much. I don't know what you guys think, but in 1v1 situations, like, I don't really see her excelling.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, she doesn't really.
Oh, I was
Go
gonna.
ahead.
So
No, go ahead.
one thing that was interesting about her is that she's classified as offense too, and we had this panel at BlizzCon Overtalk where I asked Aaron Keller about that, and just she's so different than every single DPS or offensive character. I mean, the ultimate's not offensive. It's a very utility based type of ultimate, as well as her kit. I think the most powerful parts of her kit aren't even offensive necessarily. So.
Geralt.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess, what do you guys think? Like, do you think she's actually an offensive character?
She's like, you can't. Okay, yeah, she's like classified as offensive, but I think that's due to her kit because she's like meant to be aggressive and to like penetrate the defense or whatever. But I don't know. She's a utility hero mostly. She's
absolutely.
like Symmetra practically. And I even talked to, like, I was on the bus back with Tavik going to the airport on Sunday. And they were saying, yeah, she's completely utility, and he doesn't really see her as being a hero you can just drop into the current meta and then bam, she's playable. It's more of you have to play a comp around her to make her work, to make her excel. Just like with Anna, like originally Anna didn't work too well. We saw Energy, I think Luminos at the time trying to play her as like 2 supports, but 2 DPS and 2 tanks, and it just didn't really work out. People are gonna have to figure out how to like unlock what makes her powerful and how she can facilitate other people. I don't know if she's super overpowered because I even heard her stealth is actually not that strong. Any damage you take while in stealth, you break stealth. So if you have like a Winston or anyone who's spammy, or potentially in those directions, she's gonna get caught and she's probably gonna die unless she's able to teleport back away.
Yeah, I mean, I think her stealth is actually really good though. I mean, she moves very quickly. Her speed increases too while she's stealth. But the thing that I don't like the most about her is the teleporter. It feels like you stop short of where the actual locator thing lands every time I do it. So like instead of like going all the way so that you're on top of the locator, I feel like you land short of it every single time, and it's a weird feeling. Like sometimes I don't even feel like I'm teleporting, more so than I'm just like darting a little bit.
I got the same feeling that if you like activate it, it seems like it doesn't. It's like right before where you thought it was going to be, but I think that's just a feeling thing, and you'll get used to the timing a little bit more over time. I was playing a little bit and watching some other people like Tavik and Stir stream her yesterday a lot, and there were some really cool moments where you're in a firefight, you throw like someone's trying to disengage from you, you throw your teleport, chase them, and then get the kill. Like those are actually really cool and exciting moments. But I still come back to the fact that in a 1v1 situation, she's going to lose to most characters in the game.
Yeah.
But we haven't really talked about her ultimate very much. I mean, the fact that she can AoE silence a group of players is crazy good, especially that the AoE is pretty big. But I think the actual crazier thing. Sorry?
Isn't it like 5 seconds too? Like how long the silence is?
Yeah, I'm not sure how many seconds
like
it is.
Insanely
but
long.
I think the crazier thing is that it's instant.
Yeah.
So that means if a Reinhardt has his shield up, you just break it. If you ever are in a situation like let's say just as an example, last point on Dorado, where the defender spawn is so close to the very end, and there's so many situations where your team gets in, you might be able to get 1 kill, but there's a Reinhardt shield, you can't get enough kills, and they spawn, they come back. Just imagine they're going to all be clumped up on the point. You have to be more or less clumped up on the point at that last section. She's going to be able to shatter the Reinhardt shield, disable all abilities, and I think that's going to make amazing opportunities to push in. But
or even like a Deadeye.
She's an initiator for every single other ultimate. I mean, whether it's Reinhardt's ultimate, it's May's ultimate. Everything that relies on Reinhardt blocking, it's just gone now. And on top of that, you guys said, it silences everybody, which is insane.
Yeah, so it's crazy. One thing that I think Tavik was saying to me on the bus is that it stops any engagement or stops any disengagement because of the fact you can silence the speed boost out of Lucio, you can silence and stop a nanoboost from even happening and kill that target. Like if you see a Genji, for instance, Shadowburn, the way he was playing on Russia, he would always dash straight into the air as high as he possibly could. You see that, like, all right, well, let me EMP real quick, kill the Ana or stop the Ana from ulting him, and he's going to drop back in already in the progress of using his ultimate. And that completely stops any sort of hard engagement that they're trying to go for.
Yeah.
I don't know, like the question comes down to of like the Reinhardt shield, does May do the job better? Blizzard takes a little bit longer for it to go off for the shield to drop, but eventually it will fall. She also has a lot more survivability, and she has a lot more utility in terms of forcing fights in situations or creating an environment to fight in, I guess is a better way to say it. I don't know. Like I think the silence is so damn strong though. Like 5 seconds, I think is what chat did say, or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Of not being able to do any ability. That's ridiculous. Like
even just from a design standpoint, it's like that's a lot of people that feel terrible. Like we all felt bad when we get stunned. One of the biggest thing, right, that we talked about with McCree is that getting stunned felt so bad, and we would just die. And that really sucked. And we don't get frozen or stunned or anything like that, but we basically can't do anything except for left click for a period of time. And a large amount of people doing that. It's surprising they actually chose to go down that route. It's really good, and I think it sets up for interesting team battles. But
it screws Lucio over.
Yeah,
you can't shift to switch back to your healing, right?
Exactly.
Or you can't switch to your speed.
Miro,
exactly.
so
I had that happen. I had that happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine Miro is like getting in the face of supports and then suddenly gets hacked. He can't get out anymore. He can't drop a shield. He can't get out. A Winston going too deep, a Diva going too deep is suddenly going to have zero disengage whatsoever if Sombra can actually get on them. The question is, how impactful really is that? Can you just alter your strategy to not put yourself in a situation where you're going to get screwed over by Sombra? If Sombra can't find massive utility from the hack, from the EMP, then she's not going to be contributing a lot in these team fights just with her core DPS. That said, there's probably going to be crazy amounts of opportunities for those to come into play. And I think it's going to take a really long time for people to get to that level. But once they do, once they're like, oh, I'm going to just hack the Zarya. I'm going to like stealth in, hack the Zarya. No more bubbles, no charge for Zarya. Like take Zarya out of the picture. Like that's a huge deal. But I think it's going to take a while for people to learn how to use her.
But even her as a flanker, I mean, the actual right click hack happens really quickly too. So like if you hack to say an Ana, you're going to own an Ana. So that even her right click is good. And we haven't even talked about hacking health packs. I'm wondering how effective. I mean, because in theory, I think that's crazy. It's really, really good. And maps are designed so that health kits are in very crucial places. So she can alter that.
But how many can she hack at once? Can she just do one, or can you do like every?
Yeah,
it's just
and it's got like the 12-second cooldown.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's just one. So I don't know if her ult affects it too or not, but go ahead.
Sorry. So Ben brought up a really good point though, the fact that like her kit isn't tuned to, it's not Genji, where like every move Genji has basically gives him damage. Like his shift, he can dash through, do damage. His reflect, he can do damage with it technically. His ultimate, obviously. But she has a kit based around like utility, based around protecting and helping and forcing engagements around your team. I don't think she has much 1v1 potential. Like the stealth, like Ben was saying, you can run away, you can teleport away. Yeah, maybe go to a health pack and get some more health to go back into the fight. But in the way Overwatch works, you never really truly have these one-on-one situations. So you're most likely going to be 1v2 if you try to sneak into the back line. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be one of those heroes that you have to learn to play really well to make her excel, I think. It's not just like a hero you can pick up and be like, oh, I'm actually not really good at her, but based off her kit, I can be decent. Kind of thing, and I think it's a take a while.
It's like Ana, like
it's kind of like Ana regard. Yeah, this is hype.
And people in chat are correcting us. There's a 12-second cooldown on every hack, but hacking a health pack lasts a full minute.
That lasts forever.
So that's actually really long, and I have a sneaking suspicion that this is gonna make Sombra's actually viable on King of the Hill, especially those King of the Hill points with health packs, like big health packs all around the point, like. Some of the points potentially on Ilios, some of the points on Lijiang, where they're big health packs, like really close to the point. If she could actually have good control over that, that's like, that's actually kind of substantial.
Can you so you can hack multiple medkits at once? I thought once you hack one of them, then the other one turns off. But okay, wow, that's
so you can
really
have
good.
You stop like flankers, like
that's
Genji,
really
you stop
good.
Tracer.
Yeah, like Reapers and everything. Like. Yeah, Ilios has a lot of key ones near the point. And
so Phenom says like in chat, he's saying she'd be an assassin diving on low health heroes, but like there's no reward to dive a low health hero for her. Like with Genji, you can reset and dash away, right? But she doesn't have a reset mechanic as far as I know.
It's the locator, basically. I mean, you can get out. With the locator. That's
the one reason that she can be an assassination type hero is that the fact that she can disengage, but. I don't think that that's going to be viable in
stealth
too many situations.
Stealth, you can get out of there.
Yeah. It takes like maybe a quarter second to activate the stealth, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think it's going to be enough for people to see her stealthing and like figure out where she's going.
My son killed me so many times. We were 1v1ing Sombra. She killed me so many times while I was stealth. It was disgusting. Oh, you know, one thing that was cool that she told me, so at one point we just did 2v2 with like Anna's on our team too. And he said that at one point I went stealth and Anna had her, you know, like was shooting me, right? So they had the health like syringes in me and he could see like little yellow speckles that were, yeah. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. So I could totally see you. And he was shooting me. I was like, wow, okay. That's kind of cool. So one thing to note, I guess, if you're playing with Anna's and going stealth with Sombra, that can happen.
There's a lot of people like, I think, overestimating her stealth, like in chat. Like, I don't know. I from what I heard from Tavik and from what I've seen, I don't really think her stealth is like this giant, you can't see me, like, I'm going to get into the backline no matter what, you can't stop. Because like the higher you get, people are going to predict like that stuff. And I don't really see, the thing is with like the way Anna works right now, you don't really have low health targets. There's not like someone sitting for 3 seconds on 10 HP that you can go and assassinate. It's people who are good enough will always see it and heal you up right away. So I don't know. I think it's really risky if she goes in like that because, well, if you stealth and try to get into the back line, you're fighting 5v6 or you're fighting 5v6 because your team can just be pushed into and then you can lose a fight. So I think it's going to be really difficult, I don't know, for teams to really understand her. And people keep talking about her passive. I don't fully know what her passive does. If you guys could explain that.
Wait, which passive? The one where she can see? Like,
I don't know, people keep saying there's passive.
Well, there's one thing where she can see people. She can see people that are below 50% health through walls.
Okay.
Yeah, even if you're.
Yeah, I think that's what they're referring to.
Yeah. It's actually pretty good, but I don't think your teammates can see it. It's just her. It's just, you know.
That one's a little bit weird to me. Like, I don't know. It just seems a little bit weird, but
yeah, it's okay.
Cool, I guess.
I mean, it's more one of those things when you're, you know, engaging somebody or maybe somebody's like some support's really, really low and you can go finish the job. But yeah, overall, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to take months, I think, until even the pro players really dive into coming up with comps that they'll bring out even in competition. And we saw that with Anna too. It took months before people came up with, you know, the 3-3 or whatever, right? And we started seeing Anna a lot more. Yeah, I wonder how long it'll take because, you know, it's in PTR right now. That means it's probably going to be out in a couple weeks, right? 2-3 weeks or something like that.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I hope she comes out as well as some of those other PTR changes that we've been waiting for. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, cool. You've got MLG Vegas coming up. You've got the Apex finals coming up. DreamHack, yeah. It's like you don't really have a good time to implement the patch, right? Because it's not like you can play on the last patch.
If they do it right now, then it'll be in time, sort of, for DreamHack. Sort of. Either if they don't do it now, then you're right. They probably will have to wait till like after MLG or something.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get through some of these too, because I know, Jason, you're having to go soon. Oasis. I haven't got a chance to even play the map yet. I haven't run into it yet when I was playing the ladder, and haven't gone on customs either. Have you guys played Oasis at all with the jump pads and everything?
Not had a chance yet, unfortunately.
God, I'm excited to try the jump pads.
Dude, I love the idea of jump pads in Overwatch. It almost feels like, why didn't this happen sooner? I mean, Overwatch so shamelessly borrowed ideas from FPSs throughout the last decade, 2 decades. It feels like jump pads like would have been perfect instead of these like slow elevators. But I think it's gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to jump pads.
I can't wait to dive my first high noon.
In fact, I wouldn't mind if they just like switch out all the elevators with jump pads like instantly. No one likes the elevators, right?
That's true, but then you couldn't have a Torbjorn turret that's just constantly going up and down and killing you
bouncing?
in Hollywood and shit. What?
Bouncing Torbjorn.
Bouncing? Oh my god, that would be amazing. That'd be totally
Bouncing Bastion.
Bouncing Bastion. Yeah, I'd like to see that, at least in a YouTube video or whatnot. Okay, let's talk about the arcade. That's another big announcement, and that basically the brawl area, I guess, has gotten upgraded to more of an arcade area. So the brawl will exist in there. They've added 3 or 4 different modes: a 1v1 mode, a 3v3 mode, and a 6v6 random mode. On top of that, they've changed quick play, so that quick play is a hero limit mode now, so it's very much similar to the competitive mode. And now they've moved a 6v6 no hero limit into the arcade. So what used to be quick play still exists, but they just exist now in the arcade. So yeah, let's talk about this. So you can actually earn loot boxes, earn XP now by playing any of these modes in the arcade, which is really, really nice. Because I know a lot of folks were having issues with the brawl and for that reason. But have you guys gotten a chance 1v1 like random? It's all random now, which is like,
I literally haven't been home to play.
I know that's true.
Anything, unfortunately.
What do you think of 1v1 no health packs, Jason?
I mean, I don't really see a ton of people like playing on it necessarily, like as like a tournament, or I mean, you could technically do like a tournament. Best McCree in the world would be kind of cool, right?
Totally.
But I think it's cool for like a warm up session, just 1v1. Like if I want to work on my Cree, and I know Ben's a way better McCree than I am, which is totally not true. We just 1v1 and then we can practice.
You're right. We're both terrible at McCree.
Yeah, we're both terrible at McCrees. We need to get Mitch in here for that one. But I think that could be cool to use it as like a way to practice kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think the loot boxes thing's really cool because one thing I liked about Heroes of the Storm and even Hearthstone is the quests that you can do to get extra like gold and stuff in game. Mm-hmm. So I actually like that addition a lot.
Yeah, and those you don't know exactly what those that loot box is I think every 3 wins you get 3 loot boxes, but you can get at the most 3 loot boxes per week.
Oh, that's significant though.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. It's definitely good. What about you, Ben? What do you think about this whole thing?
I'm just having flashbacks to arena mode and tribes, and which I've loved. As basically, Counter-Strike style. You have 1 life in a round, and then kill everybody until the next.
It's
round.
a new map too, by the way. There's an Antarctica map, right? So it's they made a specific map, this kind of battle arena, essentially.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I don't know if it's balanced. I haven't had any time to play, unfortunately, yet, but I just like having more modes. I like having this particular mode. I'm interested to get my hands dirty with it. I want to try something new. I think someone should host a damn tournament in it.
We should
see what happens.
We should do it.
We talked about this last week too. We should stop talking and start doing.
We will. We will. Yeah. I'm just not sure it's in
like a 3v3 exhibition with like stupid talent on each team. Like that sounds fun, man.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'd like. I'd definitely like to do that. The only
Reinhardt Mercy Bastion comp where they sit in a corner.
Oh God!
Oh God! No.
Yeah, there needs to be.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's why you get Sombra and you just shut that down and kill her. No, the only thing I think they need to change right now is just adding health packs. I think health packs right now, especially in 1v1, it just makes it, it makes it so short. The games are, depending on what heroes you're playing, it's like instantly over once you engage. And I don't know. There's a lot more potential than that if you just had health packs that when you disengage you can go heal up. Okay, let's see. Next thing. Oh, also, by the way, the brawls, there's a playlist for all the brawls too. So there's going to be an area where you can play all the brawls that you like that they currently have in the game. And, that's maybe they'll build that up to be more like a StarCraft 2 arcade eventually. I don't know. That would be pretty sweet too. But they don't have any more insight on that. Okay, I think, why don't we take some questions and
do it, Ben.
We'll.
I knew you were trying to bring that up.
What was that? Oh.
No,
okay, you want to talk about that? Talk about that. Talk about that. Yeah.
These things weren't like formally announced ever, but they did this. They did this Q&A with the Overwatch dev team at the end of the show. It was the last thing that happened at BlizzCon, and they actually dropped some serious bombs. Especially, I can't remember his name. He's like one of the lead engineers on the game. He's the guy who does the Farah Cup latency videos.
Tim, right? It's Tim.
Tim, yeah. He dropped some ridiculous bombs, including the fact that Overwatch World Cup was played on 143 tick servers, I think they said, or just 143 hertz refresh rate, whatever. I'm not smart enough to understand.
It said that, but it acted like it was higher, is what I was told.
Really?
Wow. So I did hear this from some of the pros, so I had a little bit of insider info before this. And people were saying, like, Arhan, like, how he reflected every single hook when it came at him, and every single Zarya ultimate, and like Shadowburn versus USA, he reflected the tracer bombs, and like just having that extra split millisecond to react to things even just raises the skill cap even more. And we saw it have a big impact on the games. So that was just dropped like, oh, by the way, the World Cup was on 140 hertz plus.
Don't forget what that does though for certain heroes. It makes Zarya ridiculously strong because as long as you're tracking well, it will actually reflect it better on the server and reflect it more in terms of damage. So Zarya was actually technically a lot stronger at the World Cup than she normally was.
One of the other things that they mentioned, that same guy mentioned just like offhand, this one almost blew my mind even more, is that they, in theory, eventually down the road, they want to have a server browser in the game so that you can have like custom mutators on different servers. And if you really like playing with low gravity or whatever, or like 2 hero limit instead of 1 hero limit, whatever it is, that you'll be able to do that with an old school server browser, which is something you don't actually get anymore these days. Like, yeah, he just like briefly name dropped it that they want to have a server browser eventually, which
that's old
I don't
school,
know,
man. That's
like
cool.
The old me is like would be freaking out. Like new me, I'm like I don't mind queuing. I think it's totally fine. Yeah. But that's crazy.
Yeah, that's definitely good. And also in that Q&A too, Jeff mentioned, for those of you that are wondering why you're losing more points than gaining, that there is he confirmed, and I think he's talked about in other interviews, that there is a hidden MMR.
They've confirmed this before.
Yeah, exactly. There is an MMR. He just kind of restated that sometimes it doesn't match your SR, and then they have to correct it, whatnot. But yeah, I think other than that, I think that's all we have for now. So why don't we do some Q&A? Maybe take a few questions, or maybe 2 questions, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, Scott, Hibernian Hero from Twitter asks, now that Sombra's been added, what kind of hero do you think Overwatch needs the most next?
Tank.
Yes, tank would be nice. God, I would kill that.
A new Reinhardt-like tank. Because Reinhardt is the only hero that fills his niche.
Gosh, seriously.
I completely agree. With Jason there. Yeah. I mean, if they didn't revert the D.Va, or if they let it so like the D.Va matrix, you could turn it on and off like super fast, like before the 1 second cooldown change, I think D.Va could sort of still fill that niche. But totally agree, there's no like true tank that's primary ability is soaking up damage, so that'd be sweet. And now everyone in chat's going Doomfist. Doomfist.
Okay, speaking of Doomfist,
exactly. Where's Doomfist?
A long time ago.
Oh my
God. No, so Doomfist isn't a person. It's like what you're named when you can wear the actual Doomfist. So the idea I have, which I'd still love to see, is a capture the flag type of thing, where there's a Doomfist like in the middle of the map, and depending on what role you are, like support, defense, offense, or tank, you get a different set of abilities. Like in Heroes of the Storm, well, you don't get a different set, but Heroes of the Storm, you control like an objective, you have different abilities, right?
Yeah.
So you can't be Tracer and just run it back really quickly. You get a different set. I don't think Doomfist will actually be a hero. I think it's gonna be a game mode if it comes out.
Ah, okay. I like that, man. I definitely like that game mode. That sounds sick. Let's see. I think most of these other questions were kind of added later, more like for Nate than for us. Why don't you go ahead and type out your questions in Twitch chat? And again, guys, we're going to be taking questions next time via email too. So if you're listening on the podcast right now, go and email that to theoverview@chanmanv.tv, and we'll be sure to read out the question next week. But
yeah, I wouldn't mind to actually talk about like what's going on. Like, for instance, the Combine, we didn't even mention or ask about. How does it work with
players?
Talk
about ourselves. Like, exactly.
If you're in a team and someone, I don't know how exactly it's working. Like if you're in a team and then another team offers you more money than you're making, and you want to take that money and go play for them, like are you locked into a contract? Do all teams have to release their players from contracts?
There's going to be free agency. There's definitely going to be free agency. Or at least it sounded. That's one of the things they talked about, right? Is free agency, at least in the announcement. So I think you'll be locked in your contract just like for whatever number of years, right? And then when you become a free agent,
what's the point of the Combine? I
think the Combine is there for new, like the folks that aren't on teams right now.
Then why is Miro going to it?
Well, the very first one is going to be, like some of the questions I had too that we couldn't get to or whatnot is how are the teams going to be formed in the inaugural season, right? Like, are they all going to all go to a Combine and it's going to literally be like an expansion draft type of thing where everybody is like in the draft, or will people start on teams? They're formed kind of like they're formed right now, and then if you need to, if some teams have openings or slots, then there'll be a Combine for all the rest of the players that are currently in the Overwatch player pool to go and just prove themselves. That sort of thing. That's what I'm envisioning.
We got that question very much so from Not Mesmerized in chat. It says, in OWL, do the teams draft whole teams or player by player, etc.? So kind of that same question. If I had to guess, and whatever. This is just my off the cuff guess. I think that established teams, let's say Envious, for example, they're known to be based out of Charlotte. Let's say Charlotte is one of the potential cities. If Hastro says, "Hey, I want to be like the Envious, the Charlotte Envies or whatever,"
Charlotters.
If he wants to be that, like I imagine that he'd be able to bring in his established team.
Yeah.
That would be my guess, at least.
In the first season.
I don't think that I would be shocked if they're like, let's break up all the teams and start from scratch with a draft. I really don't see that happening. I don't think the team owners would like that very much.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I'm agreeing. I agree with you there. I think they'll form the teams as they are right now, and again, just fill in the gaps, and then from then on, we'll probably see some type of combine with just with players not on teams, right, and trying to make it in. I don't know how the exchange of teams that are currently in are part of rosters will swap out with these people, but it's at least good to have a universal place for people to scout players, and so the players know too. Players can go there, right, and know that they can prove themselves there. Yeah, like
Miro, the fact that he's being invited to the combine, does that mean like Korea will be able to send 2 teams to the U.S. to play in the league the first year? Like, are we going to see the Los Angeles Lunatic Highs or something?
Exactly that, or I don't know about Los Angeles Lunatic Highs. I'd like to see just a mixture. I want to see some Korean players on an American team, whatever.
It's happening in league.
You don't like that?
Yeah, but I don't. Honestly, I don't like it. I'm saying it's, I think, far less likely in the beginning of Overwatch. Maybe down the line we'll start to see that, because like StarCraft had a lot of problems with like Koreans who didn't make it into the WCS league, like leave and go to the US and then play there because it's easier to qualify, and the region locking and all that stuff. And also you have to keep in mind, like, if this is a North American only league, does that mean there's going to be an Apex Season 2 that would be like Korea's version of it, and there's going to be one in China, like APAC Premier Season 2, which is China's version, and then do they like all meet somewhere, and how is it going to work later on? It's a lot of, like, even EU, yeah, like there was no EU in that. It's NA only, isn't it?
I don't
like NA.
They didn't say anything about NA only, so I don't know where you're getting that from, unless you know something. But I don't know, Ben, did you hear anything about NA only?
No, but I will say that the players that I talked to, the number one thing that they were saying is like, do I have to live somewhere else? Like, are we going to be flying from continent to continent on a weekly basis? I mean, if this is a truly global league and they have teams in Latin America and North America,
the first season,
Europe and Asia and APAC, like, are players literally going to be flying from continent to continent, or will they have individual leagues for each region that feed into a bigger league at the end? Like, who knows? Like, I don't think anyone actually knows the answers to those questions yet.
Yeah. So the first season, guys, my bad. The first season's actually NA, and then I think they'll build from there.
They actually did say that?
It was in the video. It was actually in the.
You got me scared, like thinking I said something I wasn't supposed to say or something there for a second. Yeah. So I let chat.
I think eventually it's not supposed to be NA only. It's just the first season is just NA only.
Oh, and shout outs to chat for correcting everything that we say that's wrong. Thank you guys.
Exactly. You guys are awesome.
What's also exciting, by the way, is the fact of, I completely forgot just what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, no, the league isn't going to be a yearly thing. It's not like LCS where you play an LCS for 2 splits and then you have Worlds and then you have All-Stars and you have like a month break to learn the new patch and then play again. They said it's going to be like a league that has a lot of time for third-party events, which is something that I think killed League of Legends. It kind of ruined it. You don't have these exhibitions between all the world at once, like Korea up against North America. You just have NA only kind of thing. So the fact that you're still going to have like your DreamHacks, your ESLs, your Apex, your Apex, I can't even name anything else right now because I can't think of it, but you're going to have them running their own tournaments in between, which also gives new players who want to play in the league a chance to show themselves. And even for casting talent out there, like, I don't know how it's going to work with talent when it comes to the league, but if you're a person who wants to get into Overwatch casting and you maybe don't necessarily have the chance to get into Overwatch League, you're going to have the opportunity there. As well as like the weekly tournaments, which I think are still going to be happening.
I mean, I agree. It's like a good and bad thing for me, because obviously from the standpoint of other event organizers, it's definitely amazing, and I think it should exist. The ability to be able to have these APACs and Apex
E-League. Sorry, thanks guys. Thanks guys. And MLG.
But at the same time, one thing I like about traditional sports is that there's a break. You know what I mean? Like, there's a break for me to just like not be overload, just to miss the sport. And then when it finally does come around, I'm super hyped for it again. When the league starts again, I'm super hyped for it. One thing that is a problem for me in esports is that there's just something that's always happening. Even a break, one month break from LCS, even if I did follow LCS super close, is like not enough.
Yeah,
it's still CEST too.
Yeah, so that having those events like during that off season too, I kind of hope that not every single team plays in those events, so that we can see a break from some of the other teams.
Well, one thing that Lord Parasite says in chat is for esports, they still prefer tournament format over leagues, where you see top teams and occasionally new teams. And that has been like the dominant format for most major esports. You have qualifier, all feeds into one big tournament, or like mini tournaments that give you seeding for like a bigger tournament. Most, frankly, it's basically just League of Legends and Worlds that has like a proper standardized league format that, as far as I'm concerned. But I think kind of what's promising about this OWL format is that you'll have the league, and then there will also be an off season where Blizzard has very overtly said they want to encourage third-party tournaments during that off season. They said that in the trailer, in the hype video, and I know that personally, that they want to encourage off season tournaments and leagues. So in theory, and the hope is that you kind of have both. And you also have to remember there's going to be things like collegiate, which when people say collegiate esports, a lot of people just go like roll their eyes or don't really care. But I've been watching some collegiate Overwatch, and it's actually pretty hype so far. Like UC Irvine is a sick, monstrous
They're
team.
Always sick,
yeah. So I think that there's going to be plenty of interesting tournaments even outside of the league, whether that's in the off season or in different formats or the World Cup and things like that.
Yeah, that's definitely great.
The problem with League of Legends was like, you have all these games that don't mean anything. Like what, the first 2 seasons or something, the first 2 years, it was you win the spring split and you get, hey, like 50 grand. Woohoo. You can make more than that streaming for like 2 months. Or, only the summer split actually counted, right? So all those games you would watch week in and week out meant nothing. And that was kind of something that's really boring with it. The fact that you have all these matches who don't mean anything. So why would I tune in to watch Cloud9 play Envious for the 30th time when the match doesn't actually affect anything? I think that's why tournaments are like the big thing, is that you have like these quarterfinals and semifinals, and every match was like win or do or die, win or lose. And that needs to be replicated. And I think that's what's nice about having like a shorter kind of league, assuming it's going to be going that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I absolutely agree. Like with just baseball, for instance, right? If we're throwing out these comparisons or whatnot, this league's going to be similar to sports. I mean, I didn't care about baseball at all until like the playoffs, much less the World Series, because those are the only matches that really matter. But at the same time, I think it's just how you execute each of these home games, that he was talking about. And if they turn into like miniature, like MLG events, or miniature like esport LAN events, where you try to make it a big deal instead of just broadcasting just the matches, that kind of like what we see with LCS, then I think that could be a big difference. It's going to be a lot more expensive to do stuff like that, but I think that's when you can make it feel like a football game. Like everybody goes to a stadium and watches it, on a Saturday. That's like a big event for any of the spectators that are going.
But filling the arenas, the areas, that's with like viewers, that's what I find almost really hard to do.
Yeah, that is going to be very hard in the beginning. Absolutely.
I mean, I see it starting in things like the esports arena. By the way, there's one in Santa Ana. They just built one in Oakland too, or they're in the process of building one.
Wow.
But like little venue, like smaller venues with a few hundred people capacity, I think is where we'll probably see this start. But I love the fact that Nate was thinking, we want to bring the mainstream sports industry in because they're going to have the arenas that we're going to be able to hold these matches in. I mean, how sick would that be if like it's 2020 or 22 and 22 and every major sports arena, like also during the off season or on the off days, has esports matches? Like that's a beautiful vision. I'd love that.
Yeah, and just the
Jason Kaplan and Ben Fishstix live from the Staples Center, bringing you Cloud9.
That's right.
I mean,
that'd be pretty
think
cool,
about
man.
like how fast esports has developed since like 2012. I remember when League went to Staples Centers for the first time. That was the very first time in North America a mainstream sports stadium was used for an esport event. And now it's like, oh, another one. Like, oh, every single month, there's going to be an Oracle Arena late in Oakland later in 2 weeks. They're going to have an IEM there, and it happened last year in San Jose, and that's just my region. It's happening in Madison Square Garden, So it's not. If you think about how fast esports has developed,
yeah, I know what you mean.
A couple of years, who knows? We could get there.
Yeah, and city affiliation is very interesting because, folks that are, let's just say, Cleveland Cavs fans or something. I mean, I'm not a Cleveland Cavs fan being, in a different city or state or being from a different state. Only the folks that are Cleveland Cavs fans are generally people from Cleveland. And you see how many people, though, there are to be able to support that type of team. It'd be awesome to see that kind of adoption for esport, too. And it's an interesting take. Like, it's something that we've never done with esports. And that's one of the things that a lot of the longtime esport people have a problem with, right? It's esports is a global thing. We shouldn't be just rooting for one team because we're from that city. It should be, we love, Fnatic, or we love, CLG or whatever, and we're anywhere in the world. So there's going to be some time where folks are going to have to get used to that too.
It's a give and take. I adore that aspect of esports, how global it is. It's just one big community. And by the nature of this league being somewhat closed, it just inherently isn't going to be the same. And believe me, I mean, I'm one of those guys that has over the years just been saying, we don't need traditional sports. We don't need traditional sports. Esports is amazing. Right. We're the future. We don't need TV, all these things. And to an extent, I agree, but also at the same time, just on a personal level, and hopefully I don't come off as fanboying too hard, but I think what Nate and the team is doing is just really refreshing to see somebody trying something so different and ambitious. And even though there is a lot of parallel between their plan and traditional sports, they're really emulating a lot of traditional sports, specifically American sports team models. But I think that's okay, and I think it's really exciting. I can't wait to see how it unfolds sometime in 2017, whenever that happens to be.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm totally down to fly around, and yeah, Jason, this week we'll be going to Seattle to do the. You
already fly around
the Seattle Enviouses or Envy Seattle is, I don't know what the hell. And then a week after, you're going to do the home game for Texas.
It'd be Charlotte.
Going to Dallas
is what it would be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. It's going to be. I think it's going to take time, and also, I mean, I don't know. I'm wondering when people are going to have time to practice. I know in LCS, the Russian team, Moscow 5, didn't have time to practice because they were flying from Russia to Cologne every week there and back. They would actually have one day home, and that day would be spent recovering, then they'd fly back. And that's why they kind of tapered off, because they didn't have that time. Our team's going to have time to practice as much. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things we could honestly talk about this for 3 hours if we wanted to.
One last thing is, I think Pompous mentions too, is that what you have to understand is that not everyone is American. So city teams mean nothing for the rest of the world. And yeah, that's actually true. I don't like Chinese
That's
leagues.
Not true.
No, wait,
That's not true.
Don't Chinese basketball leagues?
Football, exactly. You have Cologne FC, you have BVB in Dusseldorf, you've got Man United, you got all these different city-based orgs.
Yeah, they are all city-based. I mean, they're clubs, right? But they are based in cities. So that's true. I think even the Chinese league, like the basketball league, has they're city-based too. So people should be able to understand it, and I'm sure there will be, European cities and even Asian cities very, very soon after the first season. Okay, why don't we wrap up? It's been a fantastic show, guys. Lots of fun. Thanks for everybody for watching. I do want to give a quick shout out to our iTunes listeners and Google Podcast listeners. Those of you that do enjoy the show via audio, please be sure to leave a review, because it really helps out folks finding the overview when they're trying to search for an Overwatch podcast. Big shout out to Netflix LOL for leading on the last 5-star review. That is awesome. But yeah, let's do some shout outs, guys. Jason, you want to start us off?
I legit think my parents are watching in the other room, on the TV. So,
Mom,
hey, Mom and Dad.
He thanks you every single show.
I told him, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I'll give a shout to my brother and niece, because actually my whole family, for the first time in a while, is going to be all together today in a couple hours, actually. So shout out to them. Shout out to you, ChanManV, for doing the show. Fishstix as well. It was great to see you at BlizzCon. Wasn't great to see you, Chan, man, because we got like 2
What?
seconds to talk.
I know.
Maybe
We
if you
barely
stuck
got
around a little
to
bit longer,
talk.
would have been nicer.
I did love those
and
tights.
shout out to whoever.
Love those tights.
Yeah, I was about to say, shout out to whoever invented those tracer leggings, because I'm gonna start wearing those to bed.
If you guys didn't catch a picture of all the the casters,
I found out
analysts
that no one did
wearing
that,
no,
yeah.
there's no way you missed it. Everybody retweeted it. That was pretty classic. Ben, want to do some shots?
Awesome show. I think this is my favorite episode yet. You know, we had so much to cover, and having Nate on was fantastic. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. And I know it's a little bit late depending on where you're tuning in from, but if you are an American, go vote.
Yes.
I'm wearing my starred shirt today.
Yes.
I don't know. I already voted by mail like 3 weeks ago, but just type into Google where to vote and enter your address.
Especially in swing states, guys.
Especially in the swing states. For the love of God, there's so much more on the ballot than just the presidential race. However, that's very important too. There's so much more. Your senators, your local measures. Just go out there and vote. For the love of God, please. If I convert like 2 of you to vote, I will be happy. So please do it.
Sound like those people
We
that
wanna
call
ask
me
who you
every
voted for.
day. People. This ain't a political podcast, so we won't be talking about who he voted for. But yeah, just thanks to Jason Fishstix for doing the show. Obviously Nate too for coming on earlier and hanging out with us.
Kiki as well.
And Kiki. Oh, Kiki. Oh my gosh, Kiki is amazing. And we're so lucky in Overwatch 2 to have such an awesome community manager and just everybody related to the community. It's just generally in Blizzard too. The Blizzard community team is awesome. They were amazing at BlizzCon too. And for those of you that might have missed some of the show, you can find the VODs on youtube.com/ChanManV shortly after. I'll probably divide the parts. One part will be obviously the Nate interview, and then the rest of the show will be the second part. The audios will be up tomorrow also, so check that out if you guys like to listen to stuff on the way to work. What's up?
Last shout out to Jeff Kaplan, because I actually got to meet him at BlizzCon.
I freaking just missed him. Oh, I was so mad.
I went up to him and I was like, Dad? Is that you? You never came back from the market that night. And he said to me, can we just be cousins? Because saying dad makes me feel old. So like, all right, so now we're cousins.
Okay.
So shout out to him for
That's
that.
nice. Oh, I was like walking up to Jeff, like up in the skybox, and then he was like leaving. So I was like, oh, hopefully next time.
He's such a genuine and very nice guy.
awesome.
He actually loved everything about the World Cup.
Yeah, that's so awesome. One of these days, Jeff, I'll get a chance to meet you in person. But that's going to be it, guys, for the overview, episode 33. So for Jason Kaplan, Fishstix, myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.